And welcome to another Biddle on Saturday night. How's everybody doing? Merry Christmas.
Cool.
Hey.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Rocco.
Merry Christmas.
Hello.
Merry Christmas.
I
Bye.
apologize for being late. I'm going to blame that on somebody else. We won't. I'm just kidding. I was very tempted to have Scott introduce the Biddle tonight because he had the Mickey Mouse voice going on. But we're here and getting started. If somebody can verify in the chat that everything is good, we will continue on and get this thing started. All right, Tony, thank you very much. Sound is good. All right, last week we decided we were going to try MX Linux MX18. So, who wants to go first?
Sure, why not? Nobody else jumped. I'll jump.
All right, go.
So, you might be able to see. Oh, it's just going to sleep. That's MX Linux behind me. I'm testing on a ThinkPad X61S, which is relatively surprise is a ThinkPad, which is a relatively lightweight machine. It's only a Core 2 Duo with a couple of gig of RAM. It's got an SSD in it, so it's not super slow. So MX installed fine. I wiped out what was on there beforehand. The install went perfectly fine, and it asked me lots of questions, which was, different for me from other distros where it's like next, finish. But that was good to have more control over the environment. Once installed, it's pretty quick, fairly quick to boot, quick to shut down. But there's a few things. I still can't get over the fact that the logout thing is in the top left-hand corner, and I appreciate that is there because the start button is in the bottom left-hand corner, and it means that whether you have the launcher up the left-hand side or along the bottom, you still get the logout at the other end to where the start is. But I find it really distracting when whatever window I have open, the logout icon is there in the corner where my eye line is, because as a Westerner, I read top to bottom, left to right, and so my eye is drawn to the top left corner, and that big green button at the top left is like, it's like the eye of Sauron in the corner of the screen, pulling me in. So that I think I'd need to tweak a little bit if I could. I like the terminal colors. I really enjoyed using the terminal. It's nice and fast and an enjoyable experience. There was a strange power management default by default, if you do a clean install, when you shut the lid, it doesn't suspend, which is a bit weird for me because every other distro seems to have that as the default. So I had to tweak that, which was a bit surprising because usually you shut the lid, put the laptop in your bag, and you know it's gone to sleep. In this case, it didn't, and it was still on while it was in my bag, which was annoying. What else? It's got Flash installed by default, which I was kind of surprised at. Surprised you're allowed to do that.
We have permission from Adobe to do that.
Open.
Really?
We do.
Nice.
We have our own distributable.
Interesting. Okay.
And we didn't do it until MX. I forget where it debuted. I think 16 is the first time it came out, because we avoided it for a long time.
Yeah.
Because of all the distributions.
And now you've got it. Now it's dead. Like,
I figure that's why they don't care anymore. They just said, "Yeah, go ahead, whatever. We're killing it." So
I tried installing Flatpak. I used Spotify as the example because I wanted the Spotify client, and that worked. I didn't have any success installing an app image. I use a Notes app, which I use on every machine, and it's only available as an app image on Linux. So I tried installing that, and it wouldn't mount the Fuse file system. So I just gave up. I didn't want to debug that. But out of the box, it looks like app images don't work. And I tried.
Well, I don't have to check that particular one. I use the Kden Live app image all the time. So
okay. And the other thing was I couldn't install Snaps because it doesn't use systemd as the initd, and I had no way of turning that on. I found a big wiki page that explained why systemd is bad, then told me how to do it, and the details weren't right. It said reboot, hold down shift, go into grub, and
it's actually not so bad anymore. You just hit in our grub menu, there's an option for it.
Yeah,
I found it after.
I was just saying, I was actually on that page. I followed the documentation. That entry is not there. It's not in Grub.
Yeah,
and there's only one line. There is no line for systemd on my install, so I wasn't able to test that. Maybe a quirk of the install, but that was a showstopper for me, because if I can't install software, then I can't use it as a daily driver. So if I could get past those issues, then we're good. But it looks nice, performs well, but those were the showstoppers for me.
Well,
Okay.
the icon at the top and the logout and everything, that's probably also because, you're used to distributions for so many years now that have had the menu up at the top.
There's a bit of that, but I do use distros where the button's at the bottom, and on Windows I use it where I've had the button at the bottom. But I've never had any distro where exit is at the top left, which is where your eye is drawn when you open a new application, like a new document or a new terminal. If it's maximized, your eye is drawn to the top left corner of the screen, and that thing's right there, right next to you. It's just a little bit strange.
Did you find the MX tweak tool that allows you to put your like the bar anywhere you want it to be? So you can put the bar up at the top, and it automatically reconfigures so that you've just got the start menu in the top left and your log out button on the top right.
Awesome. I'll give that a go.
We put it in the welcome thing, but no one ever clicks it. So
I did.
We even have that little icon with the panel going up and down like that. I almost thought about animating it so that it would look like that. But
yeah, that'd be cool. Well. But that's it. That's everything I had to say.
Well, that's pretty short. That's pretty. I'll take that from the man himself over there. That's pretty good. So appreciate it.
All right, Zeb, you're up, brother.
Okay, well, everybody knows that MX is my number 2 go-to distro, so I've got nothing but positive, apart from one very minor negative. Like Alan, app images, they work because I was able to use Joplin, but it doesn't seem to add anything to the menu item. You normally double-click an app image, and it goes, would you like to include this in your menu? And you go, yes.
Yeah, some app images have that built in, some don't. The ones that don't rely on an app image daemon tool that we don't ship by default.
Right. So that's what I've got to look for. Yeah. The app image daemon. Yeah. So, but apart from that, it's still the same go-to that I've been with since I think about MX15. It just works and it makes Debian very, very easy. So I've got nothing but high praise for MX. I don't really miss the snaps thing because I tend not to use them. But I'll certainly have a reboot after the show and see whether or not I've got the. It might be that I think you did a 32-bit install, Alan, didn't you? Because of the laptop. Oh no, you didn't. You did 64-bit. Okay, well I'll definitely have a look.
64-bit machine. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely have a look after the show and see if I've got it in my install as part of the Grub image.
Me and another guy, I forget who it was, in the Telegram group, were playing around with the snaps tonight. And I got some of them I got to work. Like I can get the Skype snap to work, but I couldn't get the Telegram desktop snap, or what was the other one? VLC, because it gave me some error about permissions and not being able to make the temporary root file system. So assuming there's something else to configure in there besides just installing the snap package, but I followed like Alan earlier, I followed the wiki on how to do it, and it didn't work. So. Well, actually, I didn't follow my wiki. I followed the Snapchat IO wiki on how to access on Debian, and it didn't work. But I don't know. I kind of lean towards some AppArmor misconfiguration on my part, so maybe it'll come to that. I have no idea. It's magic to me, that stuff.
Well, Eris said in chat that he didn't have the systemd in the Grub menu either. Until he updated the Grub in MX and then updated the Grub in his daily driver that he runs. Then the systemd Grub option appeared. No idea.
Interesting.
All right, Dan, you are next. MX?
I liked it a lot. It's pretty great. I think there's a lot of work that's gone into the MX tools and the tweaks and all that good stuff. I can only imagine how much time's been put into that, and they're pretty great. They fill some voids that a lot of people probably run into, and I imagine they help the new users switching quite a bit. And there's some really great things that if you run a Debian distribution, you're going to want the codecs installed, and you're going to want the NVIDIA drivers that you're going to struggle with potentially. And so just having the tool right there ready to go, that's pretty cool. That's pretty good stuff. And it's Debian, so it's nice and stable. So that's really good.
All right. Steve, you're up, brother.
Yeah, had a really interesting week with MX Linux. We didn't install it on my laptop, but my son actually decided to install it on his laptop. And we installed it, I think it was last Thursday, so 2 Thursdays ago. And got it, so that was shortly after it came out, I think it was. And then he found a bug in one of the programs. It was MX Conky. When the window opens, the window would actually go off screen when you put your panel at the top because the screen wasn't big enough, at least on his older laptop at the resolution it's set at. And so my son actually spent Friday figuring out how to fix that bug and submitted a bug to the MX team. They accepted it, and I think it was Christmas Eve. They pushed out the update to everybody, and so that's kind of cool.
Very nice.
Yeah, that was pretty neat. We didn't know that was at the time that came from a kid. That was awesome.
Yeah, he's 13.
Well, Adrian,
Wow, nice.
who takes care of MX Conky, he was like, "Oh, that is so awesome! Great, tell him to fix some more."
Right.
I'm so ashamed.
Yeah, he's really geeked. Actually, for Christmas, the things that he asked for Christmas were a standing desk and a new keyboard, and he got those for Christmas. And so he set those up right away last night, and he's on MX right now programming. He wants to program an interface to graphically manipulate the settings in your Bash RC. So that's what he's working on.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Well, that's cool.
Very nice. All right, Joel, did you get to try MX? Joel.
Sorry, I was too busy with other stuff, so unfortunately I did not get to test the distro this week.
It's all good, brother. It's all good. Peter, you are up, sir.
Okay, I got the actually I'm using it right now, talking to you via Zoom from Flatpak on MX Linux, talking to you right now. It was a very big Flatpak, but that's by the way. As for an app image, an electronic image, I used Etcher, installed fine, no problem. Also, Dolphin, kudos to your wife. She trained me how to do a persistent USB drive, so thanks to her.
That's awesome. I like having her on the videos. I like having her on the videos. We get a lot more, less nerdy comments on the videos she does with us. It's really awesome. I like having her on there.
This is USB 2, but it does work.
Yeah, it'll work.
As for the panel and icons, I automatically put every panel to the top anyway, so no problem. I really love the MX package installer. That is a fantastic piece of software. You can add all the different repos, and I like the warnings about which ones you were going to activate. That was great. I loved it. MX is a good piece of distro.
Well, thank you very much. The package installer is one of those early things that we've just kept iterating on, and my Adrian is the main developer on the package installer, and he's justly proud of it. He's in it, and we keep iterating. There'll be new stuff down the road one of these days.
I was using it a lot more than I was Synaptic.
Well, that's it's supposed to be a supplement to Synaptic, but we find a lot of people just stick with it because it just it's one interface for everything.
Yep, it's definitely nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Prophetic, you are up, sir. You're not biased, are you?
super biased, and I'm gonna admit that straight out the gate. Yeah, I used MX16 on my in our bedroom for our like media machine to watch Netflix and stuff, and I noticed that over the years, like it was super stable, never gave me a problem. So that's how kind of initially it was like, all right, that's going to be my emergency USB key like distro, and then hearing the hype and the praises it got on 17, I was like, let me give it a go. And I love how it's still stable. It didn't get crazy. Like the interface, everything's still the same. I like the stability of that. The interface didn't go crazy. It changes. How it's still configurable with the tweaks in the welcome menu. A soft thing that I thought was kind of cool because, you know, it's like a nerd thing to do is like the conky setup and how you make it play off the wallpaper sometimes, and it just looks really nice and also gives you really good information. So that was kind of the first time I really used conky like that much. So the fact I have the tool to make it configurable and easy to use was like a big plus for me. The panel was an easy fix for me too. And I actually was so late to the game for the MX installer. I was like, I didn't know MX installer existed, and I'm pretty sure it was there in 16, but for the reason I always use Synaptic. Once I discovered the MX package installer, though, I didn't even go back to Synaptic at all. It was just pretty much flat packs and stable and testing repos, and I was off to the races with all the stuff that I can use. So I can't say enough good things about it. I've gotten to the point where, like, when it comes to my usage, I'm kind of over the make it look all pretty.
Well, that was what I was going to ask you, dude, because I know that you're like me. You like something that looks nice. So what about that?
Yeah, you know what? I think it's whether it's Electron or the browsers are getting heavier and heavier on resources, especially Chrome, which I'm like borderline about to just kick to the can. I just want every resource I have to be available as fast as possible, as much as possible. And so I've kind of like, I guess, turned that corner again for now, because it could be like 2 weeks from now, I can be right back on elementary or something else. But it just functionality kind of has won for me recently. And that's what I'm going for.
Nothing wrong with that, man.
Yeah. I mean, it still looks nice. You can make it look nice. But the one thing that kind of like irks me a little bit, that kind of like gives me a somewhat jarring experience when I was using Opera browser. Again, that's the Opera thing. But I can't like use, like Chrome has the GTK, like use the GTK, you know, menu bar, title bar, whatever. So I can right click and throw it to the fourth workspace. Opera and those certain software just don't provide that option. So when I'm using Opera, I can't, that you lose that cohesion. And so I do appreciate and I do miss that cohesion that other distros like provide for you, like Elementary, but it's nowhere near the functionality of the tool sets that you have. Not that I would ever need to use like Grub or Boot Repair, but the fact that it's just baked in so easily and just a click away is just nice. I just can't. Yeah, it's great.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right, Joe.
You're muted, Joe.
You're muted, brother.
Sound problems with MX, I guess.
No.
Who said that?
I had it.
Don't make me come over there, Derek.
Candy. No, I loaded this up in the after show last week. It loaded really quick, like it always did and stuff. But you know, to me, the one thing I really want to do with it again is maybe put it on the big machine, because I've got the widescreen 4K monitor. I don't know if anything's changed with that, but I remember, well, you know yourself, inherently you get the big high resolution screens, the fonts can get about this big. And I remember that was one of the things that was happening on this main machine, is that it was kind of pixelized. But in fairness too, it wouldn't be the same machine. It was the one that I had broke apart. Right now on the laptop, now that Popey said that, you know, he had trouble with shutting off, I just pulled it down because I know my screen was shutting off and I wanted to make sure it was, so I did. And on this particular laptop, it does. and it instantly came back on as soon as I opened it back up. The one thing about the bar that, again, with like Alan said about the power button, when you move it up to the top, it automatically goes to the right where you normally expect it to be off, so it kind of holds its place, but it's like it just shifts over. I agree with them when you want to use, I don't typically use the bars on the side. The other thing that's always kind of, which again, these are things you could tweak, but they're the little nitpicks, I guess, like the time that's on the taskbar, that font is always so tiny. It's like you've got a nice Conky. It's like, why even bother putting it there? I mean, I like it up on the bar in case the Conky's not there or whatever, but even when you move it, yes, you could change it. The other thing too, again, for me is I think part of it is how I'm used to using distros is you jump on the panel bar and you right click and you want to change settings on it, and you can move it, do the different type the different type desk features with it, whether it actually will put it up to the top with the menu bar on the right, which to me strikes me a little bit odd, but you have to go into the tweaks to do it the way I'd prefer to have it. It's like, why not have everything in one spot? I don't know if it's not really necessarily a big deal. For me, what I'm talking about are all just little quirky things, but part of it is because of the workflow we're used to.
Yeah. So the XFCE settings, if you just turn the panel horizontal in the XFCE settings, it will be backwards, except not quite backwards.
Yeah.
And that's why the tweak tool has the flip arrangement in it. There's actually an algorithm in there that tries to intelligently, well, I wrote it so it's semi-intelligently, flip the panel horizontally. So it tries to put the menu on the left, it tries to put the logout on the right, it tries to put the clock on the right, that kind of stuff. And it reorders it. If you look in the comments, it actually says something on the order of cross your fingers and hope you get a panel at the end when you hit the apply button.
It works great.
It's flaky. It's not flaky. It's fine, but it is possible to customize the panel to an extent where the result might not be exactly what you'd expect. But no one ever does that, so you'd have to really customize the crap out of it before you notice.
Yeah, and like I said, it's not a big deal. And as soon as I did that, I went into tweaks and put it where I want. It did exactly what I thought it should do. So, and that's why I say these are. Again, it comes down to maybe user preferences or whatever. And part of it is I think we're so used to using distros in a certain manner with your workflow. And most distros tend to work kind of the same way. I think it's a phenomenal system. It was sitting here at about 400 mid-30s megs just idling. I remember last week when I talked about Bunsen Labs being 3-something, I don't remember if it was Dan or somebody had said, well, why would it be doing even that much just sitting idle? But I kind of expect that out of most distros because there's always a bunch more running in the background than we probably are used to. All in all, I've always loved MX. And like I said, I think in fairness for me, I need to try it on the workstation here with the I don't know how it would be with your widescreen support if you guys have done much with that or not.
High DPI is not going to be the best experience because it's still XFCE and we haven't transitioned to the GTK3 stuff yet.
Yeah, but I noticed often that when I booted into MX, the fonts weren't that extremely unreadable. It was the
shadowing,
the close buttons and the title bars and stuff that was really, really tiny. But the actual fonts for the system were, pretty readable, pretty, fine. I mean, they weren't perfect, but it wasn't like really tiny like you would expect. But the title bars and all that stuff was really bad.
See, for me, what I remember of it, I did have this monitor at that time, and they did get really tiny on here. And I remember you specific, Dolphin, telling me that, get rid of the shadowing, which would help. And it did, but they still almost had a little pixelized look about them. So, but I have Peppermint on, on the other drive on here, and I don't tend to have the issues with that. I don't know. Again, that's XFCE too, but so I'm, again, in fairness, I would like to try it on here. So I'll probably load it up on that other drive shortly here and just kind of see what it does. So I can look at it on a desktop environment, but on a laptop, it's been running phenomenal. I mean, I don't know.
So on the high DPI, there's a couple of our devs do use high DPI monitors, and more or less what they do, they bump the DPI on the font size in the XFCE appearance. They switched to we got a couple of high DPI themes included. So at least you can get it readable while you do anything else you're going to do. You can get it working pretty good. And we actually, one reason we switched to the SVG icon set by default. So at the effort, as you scale things up, the scalable icons look better than the hard and fast icons. Not all the icons are SVG, but a lot of them are.
Yeah, and see, I tend to like things a bit smaller, but even with resizing this up and down again on the laptop, it's very responsive. I love the cleanness of it. Everything's crisp. Anything that I called up, it came up really quick, like it always did. And the install was as expected. It was lightning fast, So I think you're doing a phenomenal job with it. And,
good, thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So just to let you know, Joe, on your widescreen monitor, one of my 34-inch widescreens only a 1440, but I scale it at 1.5 with XR&R, and as long as I put my then custom DPI to 134, and so I've basically got now 3 4K monitors here, and it works perfectly.
Okay.
Yeah, as you say, the font can be a bit small on the clock, but it's a quick 2-second fix.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you should have a good experience on your widescreen.
Okay.
Well, I hate to move on, but we have 14, 15 more people to get in. And we only got a half hour to do it. So, Colin, you are up, sir.
Okay. Yep. I installed MX Linux. I'm very familiar with it anyway. I've used it on a few occasions, done some videos about it. Had a couple of issues on boot up, but I suspect that's a pretty crummy EFI on my system here. I've done some videos about it. I'm going to upload them probably during the week. But overall, I just thought I'd look at a couple of things that I haven't looked at before. And in the MX tweaks under User Manager, you have a copy/sync. I found that to be very, very awesome little tool to sync things. And I decided to try and remove some things and then sync it again. So whatever you add, whatever you remove, it actually syncs to a external USB, and it works quite good. So I'm very, very impressed with that little tool. It's like a hidden little gem in MX there. So I found that quite good. Overall, MX Linux is just awesome operating system. I installed NVIDIA, had screen tearing, but then I added Compton, which I think you can do. It's working all right. Got rid of my screen tearing. So I believe it seems like they work in conjunction with each other. So that seems to be okay. So my experience this week, I've been doing a lot of, research on MX Linux in regards to the booting issues and stuff. So that's been my main goal all week. So as Dolphin probably knows,
I've been watching your that one video over and over again, looking for clues. I don't know. As far as I can tell, it's almost like our installer can't tell that it's booted in a UEFI environment. I don't know why. It ought to. It obviously is. So I don't know what's going on with that laptop.
No, well, what I've done is I've done a video with 2 different laptops, both on EFI with an auto install, and I'll upload that maybe today or tomorrow. And you can have a look at that one, and it'll show you exactly what the errors in the Toshiba's doing. Whereas the other one, the Lenovo, flawless install, not a problem. So I believe that my EFI is it's probably too early in EFI or something. I don't know.
There's a lesson to learn here. Don't buy Toshiba laptops, buy ThinkPads.
That's not true.
ThinkPads are cool.
Yes, they are. Now with the same plug.
He owns
and they're a good value.
He owns stock in there.
I mean, I love the ThinkPad and I love my Galago.
So that's my experience on MX Linux this week. I'll keep it short, but MX Linux is awesome, and I'm very. I haven't looked at Distro Watch for a few weeks, which I normally look every day, but I've been fairly busy, and I was very surprised to see that MX Linux was right up there. So good job, Dolphin. You deserve it, mate.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, second most popular distro on the planet, isn't it?
It is, according to Distro.
Well, at least from the users of DistroWatch, anyway.
DistroWatch is gospel.
All right, Magnus, you're up, brother.
Yeah. Hey guys. Well, I have just done some super hyper extreme distro hopping on my virtual machine and installed MX Linux, and and I managed to actually go through the installation process and install all the software that I usually need when I use my Linux machine. And it was a breeze. The installer, I really liked it. Is it something you've done yourself, or is it? I've never seen this one before. It was a little bit like the one in Debian, but
we inherited the original installer from the Mepis project, and right now we've changed enough of it that basically the only thing left is the GUI from the main interface from the GUI and the workflow from in the GUI. We've changed a lot of the internals over the years.
It worked very well, and it installed very fast, I must say. So I installed Flatpak. It was already installed. I installed it build essentials. It was already installed. I installed all my build tools. It's Python, and I set up PyCharm. I built Qt Creator, all that stuff. It was a lot like Ubuntu. It's I run it in KVM or in GNOME boxes, and I don't know if it's the kernel. It's kernel 419. It's really fast. It's almost as if I'm running it on real hardware. I don't know how many optimizations they've done in that kernel version. It runs like a breeze. It almost runs like it's on real hardware.
Yeah.
There is at least one optimization in there that we do from the Debian source, but it shouldn't make that much of a difference in a virtual machine. Now, the one thing the 4.19's got in it that a kernel like 4.15 won't have in it is if you're using VirtualBox, some of the VirtualBox drivers are baked into the kernel now. I don't know if that makes a big difference or not.
It's KVM, so I mean, so much of KVM is now embedded in the upstream in the kernel. So I think it's just, and I even heard they have many more KVM optimizations coming in for 21, I think it is. So that's really cool. So I just installed Spotify and all that stuff I need, and it runs really well. The only thing I have is I really love XFC. It's I've been using it, I think, the most on when I've been using Linux. There's no screen tearing in a virtual machine, but one thing that is annoying me a little bit, and has always been a little bit annoying with XFC, is that if you have to resize the windows, you actually have to grab the borders of the window. And the default style on in MX Linux is arc dark, which means that the borders are like 1 pixel wide. And for windows that don't have the resize button in the bottom right corner, it's really difficult to resize them. And
I'll agree with that. It is hard to hit that pixel mark.
Yeah, well, here's a quick tip for you. Here's a quick
Go ahead,
tip.
Seb.
Put your mouse anywhere near the edge of the window. Hold down the Alt key, and then you can just resize them instantly without worrying about where you put your pixel, where you put your mouse.
I know that one. I've used XFC a lot, so I know that thing. That is the solution. Anyway, so I really liked it. I like having the start menu, the launcher, on the left side, and the Whiskers menu, start launcher menu is the best almost you can get. It's really fast, super easy to search, and all that stuff.
I wish I could disagrry and say that the best menu is on KDE, but it's not. You're right.
I gotta tell you, Whisker's pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
Very good.
The KDE menus are really bad too, so that doesn't help.
Mm-hmm.
All of them? Exactly. Which one?
Most of them. 99% of them.
Who needs a menu when you got KRunner?
Yeah, KRunner's nice, but you still want a menu once in a while, Tyler. All right, moving on quickly, Adam.
I wasn't here last week, so I didn't test it, but it looks all right. I put in a VM, looks good.
What?
Whatever. Yeah. I've spent about like 10 minutes with it. I don't know. You got other people. You can keep moving on.
Gold star, Adam.
Barbara.
Yes. Okay. As I started out putting it on, checking it out as a live USB, I really liked it. And I said, I'll try it. And I actually put it on my XPS 13 and wiped off Solus.
Wow.
Yeah. And I really do like it. A couple weird, I mean, I'm configuring it now because I only started doing that early this evening. One weird thing, I wanted to be able to have it automatically boot up using System D. And I actually went into the grub, into the MX grub setting thing, and changed it so it said yes, it would do that. But I still, when it boots up, now it comes up with the grub menu, and I have to choose advanced and then choose System D. Is that the way it was planned to do it?
No, so here's the deal with that. So the thing's in the sub menu, and what happens is, yes, it's the default. If you let it time out, it should boot into the System D. But here's what I do when I want to switch the boot menu. I use the flat menus option. That'll get rid of all the sub menus, and then set that to my default. And set whatever default I want. And then it'll be selected when it comes up too. So if I'm sitting there, I can hit enter and I don't have to wait for a timeout.
Okay, then, because that was the one thing that kind of just I thought was a little weird.
It's an annoyance, and it's something we're actually working on. But working with Grub is exciting and so.
And I did find that was one thing that I found. I haven't had the shut off problem that Alan just had said he had, because when I shut it off, it shuts off and, shuts down. Other than that, I mean, so far I'm going to configure it the way I like it to look, and it is pretty configurable, and I've been playing around with it. But yes, see, it's actually on here. See?
Hey.
I actually did this, guys. Real life hardware.
Wow. That's a big deal for Barb.
I was going to say, Dolphin, that's pretty high praise.
Like,
Barb
I need to put a pin on the dartboard.
Yeah.
Barb put on the XPS 13 right there.
Yes.
Okay.
Meanwhile, everything else is a Ubuntu Mate. So,
Bob, I think Alan was talking about closing the lid. Is that what you're talking about, or shut down?
No, if I shut it down, it's fine.
No, I was talking about when you shut the lid and it goes to sleep.
And I'll clarify that. Alan is correct. By default, the power manager does not shut down just by closing the lid. That might be a little conservative. That's a holdover from the old days when Suspend worked a lot less better than it does now, and we just never changed the default.
All it does is shut the screen off.
It shuts the screen off, but it doesn't shut the computer down. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because I just tried it.
Or put it to sleep or whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, or what we expect it to do.
All right. Thomas, quickly.
Okay, so I didn't get to try much with MX, but overall I did like it. The only two things that I noticed that I didn't like, the first one that I'm going to mention, I actually noticed today. I was going to install it on a VM, and I was actually going to keep it around for a while for multiple reasons due to my graphics card. And when I went to make the profile after the installation completed, and I went to go put in the root password, it gave me an error that it could not change the root password. And I tried a root password of all different lengths and composition and all these other things, and it just would not work. And I figured, okay, I can probably just boot in because it's done installing, and just log in and change it myself, but it hadn't even made my profile. So
what I'm going to suspect happened is that, did you get to the end of the installer and you never got an account creation screen?
No, I got the account creation screen, but it wouldn't make the account. That's the problem.
You're the second person to tell me that, and that's something Adrian's looking at right now, because we've got something there. Occasionally at the end of the installer, something happens, and that is an area we change, so we might change it back. But just because it's a lot faster now, but apparently it might be too fast.
What I can tell you is that VM specifically was set up this same way, except for two things, as another VM I installed on. The first VM I installed on, everything worked perfectly fine. The two differences were the second VM had only 1 gigabyte of RAM, and it had about 6.5 gigs of storage. So it was just above your minimum and not the 32 I typically give. So if those could contribute in any way, those were the only two differences. So other than those two, there were no.
You know, that's a very good point. I did not check this time to see how big the installed system actually is. Has anyone got a base system sitting there that can tell me how big the root file system is? Because mine isn't base anymore. Mine's expanded.
It's using 7.7 gigabytes, but I installed lots of stuff. So
I do. I haven't installed anything yet.
I just installed it in a VM like 30 minutes ago. It's like 5.6 gig.
5.6.
Okay. And I had a 6.5. So
did you use the auto installer?
Do you have a swap file, or do you have like a swap partition?
Yeah, it makes a swap partition.
Yeah.
Might have to adjust the old minimum size.
My root is 5.1 gig on mine.
4.6 on mine.
To be fair, when you're making a VM, 6 gig is a tiny amount to give a system.
Right.
That's a very small amount.
Right. And I was doing that intentionally.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't know my initial, but I just did I did updates, so I'm assuming that's part of this too.
If you gave it like 10 or 20 and made it an auto-growing thing, then it would.
The dynamic.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I usually use 12. I think
I
give him
5.1.
I give him 80.
So.
You got a lot more hard drive space than I got.
Yeah.
I use Puppy and put everything in RAM. So.
So otherwise, the only thing I didn't like, and it's not a big issue, but it did stand out to me because most other distributions that I've tried, specifically Debian distributions that I have tried, have this installed by default. Is MX did not come with Zenity by default. And as I just said, it's not a huge issue, but a lot of apps do require it. And it's baked in there by default. So
it's only baked in by default in other Debian distributions if Zenity is a requirement by some app in the Debian distribution.
Okay.
I mean, I'm going to guess that if you boot up any of your others Debian distributions, you're going to find that YAD is not installed.
I mean, I have no idea what YAD even is. So
it is the little brother of Zenity, and that's what's installed in MX and Annex. So, and that's because actually none of the MX tools actually use either one, except for the sound card chooser thing. But the most of the YAD stuff is from the Antics, because they actually have their own custom YAD library set up. And back up, their own custom GUI library set up with YAD as the back end for it. So that's why Zenity is not there. Now, if you install System Back, Zenity comes in with it because System Back uses Zenity. So you might get a false positive there because I know you put System Back on a lot of things, and it comes right in with that. So there's no reason for it. If we had it on the ISO, we'd just be sitting there, nothing using it.
Zenity is quite huge, though.
Well, that's one reason it's not on the ISO.
Yeah, relatively big, and YAD is much nicer than Zenity.
I mean, Zenity is great, and a lot of things use Zenity, but the Antics mentality, which we've adopted to an extent with MX, is, to not include stuff you don't need. Now you'll look at our menu and you go, God, you got a lot of stuff on there I don't need. Well, yeah, but you'd be surprised how shockingly useful it is to have something like the alternatives configurator on there when somebody's got some obscure problem, and I don't need to chuck out 27 command lines. I can say, just click this button and be done. Some of it's there for support. Some of it's there because people asked for it. Some of it's there because a dev team member wanted it. The Zenity is not there because we don't use it. So
fair enough. Okay.
All right, Paul, you are up.
Yeah, I really liked it. Good job, Dolphin.
Your mic's a little low, brother.
Thanks.
All right, Derek. Derek, you got to try MX? Come on, brother.
Well, I actually wasn't here last week, so I didn't know what you guys were gonna do today. But I installed both MX and Antics this past week, both in VMs and on physical hardware. So
by coincidence, of course.
And yeah, I just lucked up. So I'm actually gonna, since you guys already hit everything I would say about some of like the setting up XFCE to suit your needs and the suspend thing on the laptops, which is kind of annoying, but it's a minor gripe. The install for both Antics and MX went fine on both machines I installed it on. Wi-Fi works out of the box with MX. It does not work with Antics. I had to manually go to the Antics Control Center to, find my Wi-Fi network, type in a password, but that was like a 2-minute thing. So that was the only difference between the two. MX, under the hood, if you don't focus on like what most people focus on, the desktop, under the hood, MX is such a nice distro, right? Everything just works. And that is really why it's skyrocketing on DistroWatch. I wouldn't run the XFCE desktop environment. I really don't, if I'm being honest, I don't like their implementation of XFCE. I don't like the panel on the left. And if I was going to do that left-hand panel, I don't like Alan mentioned, the logout session things being at the top and, the menu being at the bottom. But that's minor stuff. I wouldn't run it anyway. I'd install something like OpenBox or on MX anyway. It's the under the hood stuff that really impresses me. The MX tools, live USB keys with persistence that you can do in both MX and Antics is a really big plus. So I don't want to take up too much time, but solid releases both. I want to applaud Dolphin and both the MX and the Antics team for the new releases.
Very nice.
All right.
Derek's a Hubs Loft WM fan anyway.
Oh, and by the way, I am running that machine is Antics on the Toshiba, Alan. That's a Toshiba. Running Antics 17.3 with Herbst Luft WM. I said it.
Is that the laptop that's like always on that you never dare turn off because you scared?
No. It's a different laptop each time. I have ThinkPads too, Alan. Sometimes it's a ThinkPad. So
Right.
It's not always the same laptop.
I believe you.
Just install somebody else on every laptop I own, though. So
you the man.
Like that's literally the first program I install when I do an installation on one of my laptops. I install C Matrix.
All right, Climby, what do you think of MX?
Really enjoyed it. I basically want to echo what Derek was saying earlier. I really like the utilities, the tools they include. Everything just kind of works out of the box. I'm kind of the same on not really a fan of the panel on the left and the power at the top, but I just use that configurator tool to switch it to the bottom, and it's great. The only issue I had was, and this is one of those, again, I tried it on the Asus Transformer book, one of those bizarre 32-bit EFI systems that we all love. And normally, if the boot IA32.EFI is present in the EFI boot folder, which it was, it should just work. But for some reason, I mean, on this computer, I tried MX18 and Antics, and they both just, whenever I go to the UEFI menu and select the entry, it just doesn't even try to get to Grub. When I use something like Rufus on Windows that kind of copies all the files over but keeps persistence on the drive, and it uses you can use FAT32 or NTFS, but with that I get to like the welcome to Grub splash, but it doesn't show any Grub entries for some reason. But I did get further using that method than I did DDing it to the flash drive, because when I tried that, I just couldn't. It wouldn't load a Grub menu at all. It just wouldn't even try. But normally, if I can get the boot IA32.EFI into that folder, it will at least show Grub boot entries. So and that's present, so I have no idea why it's not working on MX or Antics. But on my main system, I got the latest NVIDIA drivers installed, the 41525 drivers, and everything works great. So it's a very solid system.
Awesome. All right, Dolphin, how do you like MX?
I installed it. It's fantastic. I've got it on like 8 machines right now.
I'm disappointed.
I've got this one's for Prophetic. I've got the MX Live or actually this is Antics. This one's Antics Live USB key going over here. That also does the 2 RAM thing. Like if you got enough RAM. This machine doesn't have enough RAM to do it. I almost ran live for this stream, but I at the last second I decided to make a quick change and I borked the key, so I came back over here to my main system.
Yeah, but you've already done that on videos, though, right?
Yes, I've actually done this stream running live on both MX and Antics, and I know on the one with Antics I didn't even tell anybody. I just did it, and it worked fine. A couple hours streaming, no problem.
Like a boss.
Nice.
You can actually run VirtualBox off the USB key, which is kind of a fun experience.
Hey, Dolphin, can I ask you something about Antics real quick?
Yeah.
So I tried to do the SID install of Antics, and it was a complete crash and burn. So I ended up going back to the stretch install on this machine behind me.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that even an option to try SID? Because it just doesn't work. I can't get that. I've tried it several times, and it's just too many updates from Debian 9. I mean, it's almost 1,000 updates.
Yeah,
So it seems like it's gonna just break on you every time. Yeah,
I don't know.
Might be something you guys maybe just want to remove from the install.
That is, Antics actually used to be based on Debian testing, and so his more extreme version was to go to SID. He actually added stable. I forget which one was the first one to have stable, 13, I think, but that's been really popular. So most people, we just tell them to stick with stable until they get a nice installed system and then make the switch. Going to SID is always problematic. Well, let me back up. It's not always problematic, but it might be problematic right now because SID comes and goes. Mostly because Antics has to keep up with the no systemd thing. And if we're not on top of, if you're not right on top of the SID repo, you can run afoul of some depends that aren't present in the testing or stable. So it's kind of a Wild West show, SID. And it's more so with Antics because they by default keep systemd out of it. It's actually systemd free versus MX. MX is not systemd free. It doesn't use systemd out by default for a NIT or whatever, but Antics actually keeps it out. So it's a little bit different philosophy between the two distros.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
The kernel, is that one you maintain yourself, or is it one you get somehow from the Debian project? Or
MX's kernel is a tweaked Debian backports kernel.
All right.
Actually, it's not. I mean, actually, let me back up. This one is not Debian backports. This one we ported back from. Well, it's a Debian kernel, but I'm not sure about the source. If it was experimental at the time or if it was SID, but it's since come into the main line a little bit more.
Right. Okay. So you always get backports and because that's one thing. If you run Debian, you always get an old kernel, and so if you run this MX Linux, this is a way of getting Debian with a modern kernel and modern
and if you look at Antics does run their own kernel, and I think he's deploying a 4.20 kernel for people to try. It's not on any ISO, but it's out there for folks to try.
Right. Okay.
All right. Eric, welcome to Biddle. First time.
Yeah, I'm new to the class. I'm just auditing tonight. I actually haven't had a chance to install MX Linux, but I just rebuilt my desktop and I freed up a Windows SSD, and it's now going to be my distro hopping SSD instead.
Nice.
So my only feedback on MX Linux right now is just it's great to be a part of a community like this and to see the developers actually working with that community. So I've definitely been hearing it a lot in the news lately, and then seeing Dolphin here talking and taking notes to improve MX for the future. I really feel like that's the sign of a really healthy distro, or any project for that matter.
Agreed. I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Tyler, did you try MX?
Sadly, no. This past week has been too crazy for me.
Why? Because it's Christmas and all? I mean...
And I just helped my brother build a new computer yesterday. So
nice.
Sounds fun.
All right, Nate, you wrote an article about MX on your blog, so tell us what you think
I did.
in a capsulated form.
Yep, I'll make it nice and quick and short. So I think MX is great. Now I'm a bit biased, so I kind of sort of can't help my biasness.
Oh man, I was wondering what that guy's falling on you.
Wow.
But what I do like about it is that's right. I can't help it. So what I do like about it is I think that the dark theme on MX I think should be default. It looks really, really good.
Yeah.
And just And also it was very quick. It was very fast. I installed it on some 32-bit hardware because I happened to just get a bunch of these old desktops, and I'm kind of having this a grand old time trying out these distributions on 32-bit hardware. And I would say compared to Bunsen Labs, it seems pretty much on par. Like I didn't see any Bunsen Labs being any faster. In fact, just for fun, I decided to watch Netflix on a 32-bit Pentium 4 machine, and it was almost watchable watching like Star Trek: The Next Generation, because that's kind of my go-to, and it was great.
Oh, wow.
It actually did. I mean, I could watch it. It was a little jittery at times, but I could watch it. I very happily watched YouTube on it, and I have it going right behind me. And even after having a bunch of stuff open, there was no memory leaking. I mean, it's been running for about a week now. There's no memory leaks. There's no issues. It seems to be at all with it. So, I mean, really, it's really quite great. Now, the one thing I didn't like was, I had a PEBCAC issue with the menu bar on the bottom. But thanks, Dolphin, for clearing me up on that one. And I did actually update my article, basically saying I was the idiot. So
no idiots. I told you it's easy to overlook. It's if I can. Yeah, that you just don't see that big button on the welcome screen. It tells you to flip the thing. It's no one does. It's not you. It's us. Somehow. I just don't know how to do it. So putting in lights. So
that's it. Maybe like a little, like neon lights. Kind of
there you go, little fingers.
So the only thing I didn't really like about it is I couldn't like immediately install it. I had to go live first. Like if I could just immediately install it, that'd just make me happier. I just prefer that method. Maybe just how I grew up. I don't know. And then also, and just to nitpick, it just doesn't have Zipper, and I like Zipper better than apt-get. But
this is like the Pac-Man conversation we had 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So, but like I'm nitpicking. That's like I couldn't think of a third thing I didn't like about it, and that was it. So I mean, that's a total nitpick. I honestly, if I had to give up OpenSUSE for MX, I'd be very happy.
Wow.
Very nice. That's from my very biased viewpoint. So
I'm gonna need a cool animal logo to sit on your shoulder if you do that.
Yeah. It tickles a little bit. So thank you very much for your work. It was great. I really appreciate everything you've done.
Thank you. And it was a very nice article. Thank you. I was actually sitting in the Louis Anderson comedy show when I got your message on Telegram, and it happened to be intermission. So I don't know. I don't know why that's important. That guy was hilarious. So.
All right, Steve, welcome to Biddle, brother.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Joe's been asking me for a few weeks to jump on and say hello.
Did you try MX this week, brother?
Actually, I did not. I had looked at MX17 a little bit back. I'll probably give it a try. I'm a big fan of XFCE. I was watching Dolphin's video this afternoon when I came home from work on his MX18, and it looks pretty interesting. I like how it's got Conky, set up out of the box and that. So willing to give it a try. As Deb knows, I'm a big peppermint guy. So,
well, that may be coming up soon. Just saying. Throwing it out there. All right, Steve. Well, welcome to Biddle, and you're always welcome.
Thank you.
Every week. All right, Scott. Real quick, brother. What do you think of MX? Uh-oh. You're muted, brother.
No sound.
No, he's got no sound. He's not muted.
First, we have Mickey Mouse, and then we have nothing.
No, it was Chipmunks.
No, he's miming.
Nothing at all. No volume.
All right, we'll get back to you, Scott, before we go on. Matt, come on. Did you try MX? You know you did. Come on.
Unmute yourself, Matt. Bite your tongue first, though. Bite your tongue first.
Joe, I got gestures for you, buddy.
They're not okay on this show, though.
No,
Matt.
they are not. So anyway, yes, MX I did try. Actually, I recently got a old 2006 Mac Pro, that stupid 32-bit EFI with 64-bit architecture. Great design, Apple.
Yeah.
I did not install MX, but MX did boot and run this machine. Something that Mac OS cannot do whatsoever past Lion. So update system and whatnot. As far as what I liked about it, it's MX. To me, it is the most usable version of XFCE.
Interesting.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Scott, any audio yet?
Can you hear me now?
There you go.
There you go.
And
I
thanks
don't know
for
what's
that
going
info.
on. I've never been disconnected from the session twice in a row without me even touching the computer either, and reconnecting automatically. But who knows?
Australia.
So, what do you think of MX, man?
Well, believe it or not, I had deep in on my 2005 HP laptop, so I decided to install MX dual booted side by side, and basically it went flawlessly. It's running on my laptop flawlessly. I think there could be a little bit more added to the dual booting features during the install. It seemed like I had to work too hard to get to the settings I needed in order to dual boot it. As a single boot, it looked like it would have went through perfectly. It had a lot of options, which I think is great for a novice, not for somebody that's for somebody that's brand new, it's probably overwhelming. For somebody that's already fairly intermediate, lot of boot features, which I think was great. I mean, there's a lot of options available during the install. If you're familiar with your system, that's absolutely wonderful, I think. Plenty of options during that install. After the install, though, I think the branding on all of the wallpapers was pushed a little too hard. My screen resolution is a 1600 by 900 on the Lappy, and I like to run conkeys and I like to run Docky at the bottom. So I did like a lot of other guys did. I put the menu bar or the panel at the top and the Docky at the bottom. The conkeys I know it's a personal issue because you can go in and tweak your conkeys all day long. Several of them were just too tall for a 900 tall screen and would run out down at the bottom where the concave would extend down below the bottom and overlap with the MX Linux or the MX logo, which 90% of the wallpapers was MX logos. So immediately I had to go to the web and start downloading, pictures that
The
didn't
10%
have
of the wallpapers that didn't have logos are just hidden so you can't see them.
Right. Now I
They're
did
still
scroll
there.
down.
We
I did
brand
scroll
everything.
down. Yeah, I saw that. Probably if there was maybe one or two, maybe even 3 or 4 branded, like some of the other distros, that would be
Brand
great.
all the things.
Yeah, but it was just, it was like a cattle ranch. Everything was branded.
MX is the Michael Tunnell of distro, right? Brands everything.
We're everywhere.
Righto.
Right.
But just to keep this short, I only ran into one problem which I'm actually looking at right now. I'm in the MX package installer, and I use the drop-down menu to just show the upgradable packages. And looking at the little icon that says upgradable package, newer version available in the selected repository, I'm seeing the MX repo list, MX system, and MX tweak. Currently installed versions are older than the ones available, so I selected those. I do the upgrade, or I click the upgrade button, and then all it says is reinstalling of MX repo list is not possible. It cannot be downloaded.
Okay,
And
so
ends.
probably what's happened is we've been adding mirrors so fast here lately. We've added 4 today. So it's probably that you just probably need to refresh the sources again. Because the repo list has probably changed again, and we're having trouble with one of the Are you in Australia? Did someone say that?
I am indeed.
Yeah, we're having trouble with the Melbourne set of repo mirrors. They're flaky.
So it doesn't surprise me.
We've been switching to. There's another Australian. We've been recommending people switch to the other one for now. I forget where it's at.
New Zealand.
Well, no, the New Zealand one's a little flaky too, but for different. It's older. It's reliable. It just doesn't always update every day for some reason. There's a Tasmania one. That one's not too bad.
Hobart, yep.
I switched to that one. It's working well.
Yeah, so try that and then refresh the sources. Usually, what happens is app, when it compares versions, it compares to the local cache instead of going out on the internet. So whenever you updated it last, that's when it's going to tell you there's an update available. But if it's changed again, app won't know that until you refresh the sources again.
Right.
If you wait long enough, our updater tool will automatically do it. But that can take, that takes time. You can do it manually.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of a minor problem. I see that can be actually workable later. I did notice that the system sits at about 480 megs of RAM in use, which is
lovely,
which is pretty good. And I'm really shocked over the fact that the kernel 4.19 is actually working on this old of a machine. I mean, we're talking 2005. We're 15. Almost 15 years old. We're 13, 14 years old now. And it's running beautifully. I honestly think I might dump deep in and use MX Linux as the go on this machine. This is really pretty awesome. I like it. So I'll give it 9 out of 10.
Awesome. Well, we'll take it. Great.
How much RAM does it have?
Believe it or not, it's only a 4 gig of RAM machine. And it's beautiful. It's running great.
Yeah.
Well, as you can see, Dolphin, there's a lot of people that love MX. So
there's definitely love.
Thank you for the hard work that you guys do.
Yeah. Well, there's on behalf of our team, and there's a lot of us between Annex and MX. There's a lot of overlap, but there's also a lot of people involved. There's a lot of fingers. Hopefully, one of these days, I'll get everybody on a cast like this, so we can at least introduce some of the other faces. I'm really the only public face. There's been a few other guys make videos from our team, but they didn't put their faces in the videos, so no one knows what they look like. They're stealthy, unless you look at their forum pictures. So we appreciate it. I like to tell people our community is older than our distribution. When MEPIS went away, the MEPIS community was still there, and Antix, Anticapitalista, the guy that runs Antix, approached them, said, "Hey, let's make something." And the reason the turbo on the panel bars on the vertical side is because this was originally set up for one of the old Atom class netbooks, the 600 wide ones or tall ones. And so to maximize the screen real estate, we shoved everything off to the side. We just kind of stuck with it. Now everybody knows this is the distribution with a panel on the side, and okay, we'll take it. That's fine.
Is there any? I mean, that seems to be like getting a general consensus of this. I mean, if you could pick one thing out, that is like the one thing that is, whether good or bad, liked or not liked, it's the one thing that everybody talks about. So is there any option to put it in your face automatically to say, where do you want your panel?
We've thought about that. And we actually had a discussion today about actually the installer option. Someone else mentioned, maybe that was Nate. We were talking about that online in the emails a little while ago, but I don't know. You got to remember, Antix and MX both operate just fine off a live USB, and we don't want, unlike other distributions that aren't meant to run off the live USB. You can run this off the live USB, a la Puppy, for instance. You don't want to put that in front of people every time they boot. So you got to have some way to make that configurable. And I don't know. We've talked about it. I don't know if we'll put it in your face or not. There's a lot of stuff in the live boot menus. Maybe we'll add it there, and then you can push an option.
Well, if they would use it as a live USB and run it that way, as persistence, you should be able to do a do not show again.
Yeah. As long as they're running with persistence. I mean, a lot of people use this thing. You'd be surprised when you get a system that's designed for running live, and we get a lot of this in the Annex forums. People are like, "Hey, I use it to get on with my bank, and then I just use it live, and then I throw it away." And okay, that's great. I don't know. There's a middle ground someplace, but on the other hand, make it as easy as possible to switch it around. Who knows? We'll see.
Right. Well, again, awesome work, brother.
Thank you. Anybody try the encryption in the installer? That was new this time. I just wanted to see.
No.
Okay.
right, well,
too risky.
I do have to apologize because Yannick was here last week and he sent me his notes through Telegram, and for some reason Telegram won't let me open. Every time I try to open it, it gives me an error, so I can't pass along his notes for MX. But he did try it, so I apologize to Yannick for not being able to pass them on. But this week was MX Linux. Next week, Zeb, what's it going to be?
Peppermint 9 OS respin.
Yep, that's exactly what it's going to be. Peppermint 9 remix, respin.
So sorry for the people who don't have much love for XFCE, but just bear with it.
Well, I know at least 3 people in here that could give you reviews right now.
Probably.
Yeah.
So no high DPI displays.
No what?
Well,
I said so. No high DPI displays, right?
Correct, but all you got to do is set your high DPI to something like 132, and it works perfectly on a 4K machine. Okay, yeah, the panel entries aren't going to be fantastic, and you do have to increase the font size. But it's only some minor tweaking, and as MX has already said, that's mainly down to XFCE, not the distribution per se. So as soon as XFCE gets upgraded, then those sort of HIDPI woes should be fixed.
Well, we're going to have to see, because you got to install it and try it out, because it may be good. I mean, Zeb, do you notice that the title bars are smaller? Like
Yeah,
where I was talking about?
Yeah, they normally come up. I mean, I'm not so worried about the controls in the top right-hand corner. And one of the things that we'll talk
Top
to Mark
left, thank you
about
very
is,
much.
yeah, maybe we should include a couple of HIDPI displays like MX do, because it does make them that little bit larger to see. But for me, the killer is on like your title bars for Zoom. Normally, on a plain install, that would appear on a 4K monitor as if it was written in 6-point, and it's not. It's written in like 10 or 11. So you do have to up that somewhat to make them a bit more readable, and that's just the single biggest bugbear with XFCE at the moment, is it doesn't handle HIDPI really well.
So for those of you who want to download it and do a extreme distro hop right now, you can go ahead and do it.
All right, let's get a download link.
Yeah, I'm just about to give you that. Just a second.
Sweetness.
He's on it.
Always on top of things.
No, I really like that ICE SSB thing you guys got going on.
That is sweet. I have to say,
it's pretty cool, I must admit.
I tried to get that on MX17 to no avail. I think it took a while before I got it, and then I had some issues with it. So I got to try it on my MX18 and see if there's any.
Yeah, it's one thing that we've always been asked: can we try and port it and make it sort of a bit more adaptable? Yeah, but that's just something that Mark just doesn't have the time to do. He wasn't the original writer of the program. He's taken it over from one of the original devs that's now left the community. But you've got the whole repo there that you can drag it down from. So if anybody can play with it and get it installed, I know other distributions do use it.
Yeah, we actually have it installed in our test repository, so you can do it through the MX package installer.
Nice.
On the test tab, and we should give the shout out to Peppermint. It's the Peppermint ICE utility, so it's how it'll show up in the description.
It can be installed on Ubuntu. You just have to go through a few. You have to use an older deb file of the ICE apps, and you have to replace files in the user and share folders and stuff like that. But it can be installed.
Cool.
Is Mark in our Telegram group?
He appears occasionally, but I will make sure that he pays a visit during the week to try and help out.
It would be awesome if he could join the stream.
That's never going to happen, and you know it.
Yeah, I know it's not, but I'm just saying it would be awesome if he did.
Yeah. He describes himself as an ex-rugged biker, Southwest England yokel. So there's no way he's going to put his face or his voice on anything public.
That's all good.
The rest of us.
But he might appear in the chat because he's normally up and about.
I mean, has he seen Matt? I mean, really?
Wow.
Shot across the bow.
Sorry, brother. Sorry, man. I'm sorry.
What did I do to you this time?
Hey, I was standing up for you. Don't you know?
It was right there, man. It was out in the open. Just had to take it.
That's what happens when you show up late.
I was pulling a Michael Tennell and decided to show up on time.
Mhm. Well, he's in the chat, the YouTube chat, but he won't show his face here because we didn't talk about KD, I think.
Can I just add? I'm just trying out the plasma on MX just to see if I can live in plasma 5.8 world. So far, okay. Yeah, we'll see if that conjures up Michael Tennell.
Zeb, for the record, I happened to come across an old Midfinger video that he was talking about actually using your ICE and some other scripting that he put together to create an actual launcher that works, an app launcher that works much like that.
Nice.
Can I just say though, the Elementaries app that does that, it's called WebPin, I think it is called, is incredible too, and it feels like it forces the cache or some type of thing where you're less likely to re-sign in the tool that you use. It really does a great job in holding it. And so yeah, this, if you want to kind of try different things with similar features, that's a good comparison to do. But I think it's only for elementary right now, I think.
ICE for me is a bit of a double-edged sword because of ICE, we can't get rid of the moniker that Peppermint is a cloud-based distro, and they ignore the fact that it's just like any other Ubuntu derivative. You can install what you want through, and we've got 4 methods of installing software. We've got the Mint software installer, the GNOME software installer, Synaptic, and the terminal. So, just yes, it's a useful utility.
When you say cloud-based distro, do you mean like Chrome Ubuntu, or is it?
Well, no, that
people think that way.
I was going to say basically what he's saying is something like a long time ago there was a version of Ubuntu called Jolly Cloud, kind of the same idea.
Oh, I used that. I remember that. I remember that tool.
Yeah, but I think that whole idea is kind of like, it's only relevant where people that don't use Peppermint or have never tried it, because it's almost like the same thing of where Plasma's heavy. It's just an old myth that's not even close to being true, and anybody in their right mind that uses it nowadays knows that that's not true. So.
It's just like the panel being on the left side in MX.
Almost.
I actually saw the screenshots, and technically that would be my dream layout. Technically speaking, having a panel on the left side. So screw all y'all.
Well, MX is for you, dude.
Love you too, JJ.
Rocco, he better not use chaos then.
I'll say, because that'll really mess him up.
That's
the pedals on the right.
No, we all know that's nuts.
That's ridiculous. All right, so this is the last biddle of the year.
Wow.
Yeah. Slowed by so fast.
But so that means we got to make some predictions.
Are you sure you want to go this route?
Hey,
This is dangerous.
Everybody has already heard my predictions, so I'll say it again, just for everybody to know. Microsoft will make a operating system based on Linux. Period.
Interesting.
By the end of the year.
$5 says you pay for it.
I'm just going with it. Okay, that's my prediction.
But they already have one, right?
So we're not talking like
Technically, yes.
Azure Sphere or anything.
No.
We're talking like straight
Consumer facing.
Consumer
We're
desktop
saying
type
they're gonna get rid of Windows 10 and go with a Linux based
In 2019,
2019 is going to happen.
Words.
never going to happen.
It's going to happen, just like Solus.
Something's going to happen. Windows can't
That's a bold
stand not
prediction.
to monetize Linux. No, they just can't wait.
Look, everybody knows my track record on predictions, so we should see it.
So
track record.
yeah, this will turn out well.
Yeah.
All right, Zeb, let's get your prediction, man.
Well, I'm going to go with one equally distasteful. There will not be a Linux phone in 2019.
Wow. Zeb.
Agreed.
Oh,
Agreed.
but they're already shipping the.
They're saying they're going to.
Okay, a new Linux phone in 2019.
Well,
They're saying
let's clarify that though, Zeb. You're
I have
talking,
a PQ.
Is that like a release, like of a mainstream phone? Are you talking about, or just like an anything?
Well, something that more than just 1,000 geeks around the world are going to use.
A Librem phone.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Popey.
How many do you want?
How many do you want to lose on?
I've got 4, and
Do it.
one that is more of a wish list than a.
Do it. Do them all 5.
So I have said these on other podcasts, so you may have heard these before. So first one, Elon Musk will continue to say stupid stuff on Twitter, and something that he says will trigger his removal from either Boring Company, Tesla, or SpaceX. He will get.
He's already been removed from Tesla.
Not
He's
completely.
been so yeah. He's been babysat.
The board.
Right. So
that's
one.
number 1.
Next
Okay.
one. A significant size vendor of Android devices, but not Google, will make a viable Android competitor to the iPad, because at the moment all tablets that are based on Android are trash and do not compare to the iPad. Someone will make one which is really, really good and comparable, but it won't be Google.
The keyword for that prediction is Android, not Chrome OS.
Right. It'll be Android.
Are you including Galaxy Tab S4 in that? Because that's
I don't consider that
Samsung.
No, I'm talking like
not-
something
oh, no,
comparable
not
to the big iPads, like something that a creator would use that would actually choose that and not, I don't want Apple. The only other option is Samsung. It would be something you would actively want to buy.
Okay.
Like people actively want to buy iPads.
That sounds like the wish list item.
It's not. That's coming. That's coming. Number 3, a new Raspberry Pi will be released next year, and it will have a completely different form factor. So it will be shaped differently to this. The connector might even be different. Some of the other connectors might be different. So it won't fit in boxes, and it won't be the same shape and size as the existing ones. It will break compatibility in some way with the old ones.
So is that based off of rumors? Because I've heard something like that before about the Raspberry Pi changing form factor.
No, they've said they're going to up the revision of the chip that's on the board, but they haven't said anything about the board itself.
That doesn't sound like a good prediction.
Well, it could be, because it means manufacturers can create more new things for people to buy and keep the good old commercialism train going of people buying stuff, right?
Making adapters to fit.
Hashtag free markets.
Yeah, maybe it'll be USB-C. Who knows?
Oh, I would like that.
My final prediction, which is not Linux related, but it has an impact on Linux, which is Apple will announce and release a laptop which uses ARM CPUs and has no x86 CPUs on board. And the byproduct of that is it'll be harder to put Linux on it because it's ARM based.
Okay.
Do you want the wish
What's
list?
your wish list?
My wish list is people will stop using DistroWatch as a measure of distro popularity.
You know that ain't happening.
Are you implying some project that's coming in the future?
No.
All right, Dan. You got any predictions?
Yeah, so I was reading an article here a couple of days ago on gaming on Linux, and my prediction could be bold. Basically, I'm going to summarize a little bit here. It said 35 of Steam's overall top sellers this is out of 100 are they support Linux. I think that number is going to double, and so we'll see 70 out of 100
wow,
of the top sellers that support Linux, because I think that's going to be the thing that grows the most there at Steam. They're really pushing for Linux, it seems like. So that's
native or via Proton? Or does it not matter to you?
It doesn't matter to me. I think Proton is native enough for the most users.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my bold prediction.
That would be good.
It's native enough when you can just hit the play button and it plays.
Yeah,
exactly.
Totally.
Yep.
And question: are any of those top choices AAA titles at all?
They said, well, they don't call them AAA, but there was another quote in the article that said 41 out of 114 Steam's most played games in 2018 support Linux. So obviously, most of those are going to be AAA. Or I would assume. It doesn't say that, but I'm gonna go say.
So
yeah.
Dan, you said top 3 or top 10 what would be released native?
No, he said 70%.
Oh,
70% of 100.
70 out
I'm,
of
I'm not released native, but just be the most popular games on Steam.
Oh, okay.
Most
Yeah, I
We'll have a
remember
Linux
hearing
version
from-
available.
Yep.
I remember hearing from another podcast a prediction with regards to more AAA titles being Linux native, possibly.
Yeah, I think it'll happen. I think it'll.
Is somebody writing these predictions down?
I am. That's why I asked for.
Oh, okay.
Play
Thank
'em
you.
back next year.
All right, Steve. Any predictions for 2019?
Well, I'll do a selfish, crazy one. How about that?
Okay.
This is based on an OMG article that came out just a couple days ago, which pointed out that one of their honorable mentions for best Linux distro of the year was Bodhi Linux. And then another that made their top 5 was Void Linux, that offers Enlightenment Desktop as one of its main choices. I think next year is going to be the year of the Enlightenment Desktop.
Really?
And the distro
Can
that
I add
uses
one to my
their
prediction?
main- Can you
Go
have
ahead,
that as
Steve.
yours?
Go ahead. Finish your thought.
I'm going to push it a little further and say a distro that uses that as one of its main DEs will break the top 20 on DistroWatch.
Well, if Alan's prediction comes through, that won't matter.
True.
But I'm going to add to my prediction that I think Steve's son is going to actually become a developer in one of the Linux communities.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think well on his way.
All right, Joel, prediction. Any?
Alrighty, so with the era that is of Satya Nadella and Microsoft's revival into open source, obviously you probably heard this on another podcast, but I'm going to affirm this prediction by saying that Microsoft will release the next version of Office on Linux and as a snap, possibly. But that's tangential, but that's my hope for a snap. I know.
Well, that wouldn't be a bad thing, I don't think.
Interesting.
Well, I mean I think it was on Linux Unplugged where this prediction came forth, and he said it was 50% chance. I'm saying it's tangential, so it's 25%.
All right. Peter, predictions?
Right, I'm very interested in what your Solus prediction was last year.
You don't really want to know, Peter. I mean, that's like last year news.
I want to know.
All right, so last year it was December. It was like a couple days before New Year's. We did Destination Linux, and I might have made a prediction that I would be on Solus for the whole year.
Okay.
And it lasted probably till December 28th, and I didn't even make it to the New Year. So.
Okay. So Rocco, I've done it for 2 years. I've done your share. Okay. Right. On the serious note, my wife is a Windows gamer, and she runs with Windows gamers. And the chat that I'm getting back from her is a lot of them, and this is piggybacking on what Dan said, a lot of them are very interested in trying out Linux. So I predict a lot more Windows gamers will try out Linux and like it and move over to it.
Let's hope NVIDIA is ready.
Shots fired.
But the Windows gamers are talking about it.
Okay.
That's good. What'd you say, Colin?
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay.
Spider, so would you be willing to put a percentage on that?
No.
I'm
just telling you, it's a prediction based upon a fact that I'm hearing.
Right. Okay. Prophetic, can you write down your own prediction?
Yeah. I guess
All right.
I can write my own now. You can sit. Just come back to me. I'm still thinking about one.
Okay. All right, Joe.
Well, kind of like Spider was saying, I think that you're going to see a fairly significant jump in market share of Linux this next coming year, and that's all aspects, including Microsoft and any place it can be, but especially in the desktop and gaming. And the reason I say that is because even with the winter sale going on there, and looking at, I bought a handful of games. There were a lot of a lot more Linux supported games than it seems like there ever were, unless they just put them up there in the forefront. I don't know, but it seems like there's a lot more. So I think I'm not going to put a percentage on it because I think that would be too hard to guess, but I do think whatever it is still going to be a significant jump from what it was. That's my feeling.
Awesome. I hope you're right, Joe. I hope you're right. Colin?
Well, I predict that probably Linux Mint will continue to make some bold choices for their changes on their operating system.
Define bold.
Yeah, have they made bold changes already?
Well, they're
bold for Linux Mint.
For the users, yes.
Yeah, that's what I would have to clarify, Colin. Bold for Linux Mint or bold for regular everyday Linux users like us?
The taskbar change.
Whoa.
The users don't like. Well, they've started to make a couple of changes, which are not significant, but I mean, maybe that's just the start of it, and they may continue to make some more bold choices because they don't like to upset their user base with too much dramatic change. So I'm predicting they might continue in that.
I'm
direction.
not making fun of you, Colin. I'm making fun of Linux Mint.
No. That's there. I know.
Because
I'm just clarifying what I'm talking about, pretty much. So
their bold change this time was what?
Just.
Someone was triggered.
Fall off the table. There,
Barbara's cat's make an appearance.
Yeah,
I shouldn't.
the appearance.
I shouldn't blast Linux Mint because we'll probably do them next week. Magnus.
All right, I have two predictions. The first one is a stretch, but get this, guys. In April next year, there's going to be a new release of Ubuntu.
Really? That's a stretch.
Really? That's bold. Very bold.
Yeah. I'm not going to say percentage-wise. I think it's pretty high.
Yep.
Okay, the second one, I think Valve had a hard time making the Steam machines work. And to begin with, I think it was a bigger battle than they initially thought to get all the hardware working and get all the games in there and all that stuff. But it's really getting there now, and we've seen a lot of AA games, and so I predict that there's going to be a properly marketed Steam machine next year.
So it's pretty awesome, though, right now. I mean, even games like there's the Golf Club 2019 is a game, I think it came out like this past year, and it's pretty much what Tiger Woods, if anybody remembers playing Tiger Woods, EA Games was golf, and works right out of the box in Proton. So
yeah,
I mean, I think we're at an awesome time right now, and I hope you guys are right that it gets better and better.
Yeah, so Steam Machine 2019, go.
Steam Machine.
That's cool.
Adam.
I like that. Yep.
I got a crazy one. I predict that NVIDIA will drop their whole EGL streams mess and actually make proper Wayland support. That would be really nice to have. But
is that a wish list or is that a prediction?
I wish.
And also, I predict that the Biddle Discord will overtake the Biddle Telegram group. And more people.
There's a Biddle Discord, is there? Oh,
yeah. Yes. Well, okay. So on the after show, after we're done, we go to the Biddle Discord. All right, Barbara.
Okay. I kind of made a little note in the chat here, but I think what's going to happen if we want to go back to the Apple converting their Macs to ARM, they're going to make it even harder to put anything other than Mac OS on them. They're already doing that with with the 2018 versions, with the bootloader.
Yeah, with the T2 chip.
Mm-hmm. Fair.
What a surprise.
So they're going to make it harder to install, to get to dual boot.
I don't think that's possible, Barb.
Well,
you can technically turn it off and still do it. But
I mean, are they still doing? They're still doing boot camp, aren't they? Like they're still promoting boot
that's not true. Dual booting, though. It's like virtual machining.
All right.
Yeah, that's not the. Yeah.
It'll make it harder. Well,
Mhm.
that's not a good thing, Barb. That's not a good prediction.
No, but it's a reality.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's what they're going to do. I think they're going to end up isolating themselves even more so.
Isolating all the sheep in their pasture.
Mhm. Mhm.
Put them out.
And raking in the filthy, filthy lucre.
Yep.
All right, Thomas.
All right. So my first prediction is that in 2019, snaps will finally support having the same theme as the normal dev packages or whatever you have system you're on being installed, like the GTK theme.
Amen, brother. Amen, brother.
My second prediction is that Valve will make it so that SteamOS can no longer be installed on another computer. You have to buy a Steam machine.
That would be bad. That would kill everything.
And
why would
the
you even
reason-
bring that up, Thomas?
Because it's already a
terrible
pain in the
host.
butt to install. If they really want to promote SteamOS, what they need to do is they need to start distributing it like every other Linux distributor distributes their OS as an ISO package that you can just burn to a USB drive and use Ubiquiti or something like that to install it. Right now, you have to do some sort of weird decompression thing and run some weird script just to get it set up. And even then, it's a pain in the butt to install it. So I feel like they're probably going to just make it so you can't install it. You'll probably be able to see the source code, but you won't be able to install it unless you do some weird rigmarole with making your own ISO and all that, which no normal user would do. And
All right.
then
I don't like you right now, Thomas.
nobody likes me. Let's be honest here.
And that's okay because we have Draugr OS to take care of that, right? Is that what you're going to say there, Tom?
Yes. Draugr OS is the main competitor as far as I'm aware.
So this is a wish list thing.
It's a wish list, but also like I can see this happening. So yeah.
So we also have a very good prediction in the Zoom chat as well, if you want to read that out, Rocco.
In the Zoom chat?
In the Zoom chat from Joe, yeah.
That Thomas will have a quiet keyboard and pronounce Debian correctly.
Response to that.
Thomas, one more thing. You're the perfect candidate for a virtual keyboard.
Okay. In response to that, I will say that I'll probably end up pronouncing it right at some point. It'll probably be like June or July by that point.
Thank you, Thomas.
As far as the keyboard, I have been a aggressive typer for as long as I've known how to use a computer. So yeah, sorry, that's not going to happen. I just got to learn to mute before I type.
Well, actually, now that I retract what I just said because I was thinking about it. If you're on a virtual keyboard, then we'll be hearing.
Yeah, you'll be seeing this instead of the hard typing.
He's going in and out of focus.
Also, he could also upgrade his keyboard to have like quieter switches, right? Couldn't he?
Probably not. Yeah, because I'm on a laptop right now, bro.
Oh,
I'm gonna guess that you're using your laptop's microphone.
No. I'm using the microphone of an external webcam. I'm trying to get it so that I can use the microphone in here, but for some odd reason, the Bluetooth settings in XFCE are not allowing me to do that. It used to do that in GNOME, but not in XFCE.
And I'm guessing that webcam is attached to your laptop somehow, like just sitting on top of it.
Yeah.
So it's probably picking up the vibrations when you're typing on the laptop. So
yes, that's why.
Rock Band mic, dude. It's only a couple dollars. Just saying.
I might. I have an external microphone.
Ask Michael to know.
That's right. All right. I want to before we move on. Craig Lilly in the chat said if he could make a prediction, it would be if Intel releases their upcoming GPU in 2019, it'll put a hurt on both NVIDIA and AMD.
Wait,
I
Intel releasing a GPU? Seriously? Is that?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
they are.
They're
A gaming
dedicated
GPU.
GPU. But that's going to be in 2020. That's going to be in 2020, though. Confirmed.
All right. Paul, any predictions?
Year of the Linux desktop.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
That was 2004.
Oh yeah.
And 5 and 6 and 7.
I think the year the Linux desktop was a personal thing. That's when I switched.
Any year since 1991 has been the year of the Linux desktop for whenever you switched.
Dolphin.
XFCE 4.14 will finally be released.
Wow. Are you sure? That's a bold prediction, dude.
I actually made the same prediction last December. Didn't happen.
I'm notating it's a carryover prediction.
I love those guys, but
where's Sean Davis when you need him, dude?
He's great. I follow him, and
he's awesome.
He's pretty awesome. I just want to add one thing, and I'll get off here because I like half the predictions on here. Some of them are kind of interesting, but every now and then I look up there at Alan. And he has this look on his face like, yeah, I know about that one. We got that happening in the back.
I don't know what you're talking
about. Supposed to tell him that. That's
he's got his fingers and everything. We all know it. It's
poker face.
That's the 3:45 a.m. face.
That's true.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. You guys are.
Oh yeah. Oops.
Called the trance. Yeah.
All right, Eric. Do you got any predictions for 2019?
I do. I have a community-wide one and then a personal one. So my prediction for 2019 is that the Samsung DeX will gain wide free and open source adoption.
Ooh, that would be good.
And then the one for myself is that I'll finally settle on a layout and equipment for my podcast studio.
Never going to happen.
This is the third mic I've had in about as many weeks, I think.
Yeah, but that mic sounds pretty good, brother.
Yeah, it really does. It's been the best so far.
So what mic is it?
It is it's a black one.
A rock band black one. Yes. I have a black one as well. Yes.
It's a dark theme.
Yeah, always with the dark theme. It's a Behringer XMB 5800.
Nice. Behringers are nice.
Well, it sounds pretty good, man.
I have hardwood floors and not a ton of furniture in here, so the echo is pretty bad. So this mic is kind of a requirement.
Yep.
Blankets, dude. Blankets.
Or
mattresses. Colin likes mattresses to block out the background noise. They work great. I mean, you see them in the background, but they work great.
When I first started joining Biddle, and I see Colin with his like Scully hat and a mattress, did this guy go out like thieving mattresses from people's houses and stealing them, and then coming back for the podcast?
Yeah, it's only been recently that he removed the mattress from the background there. So
yeah, I won't tell you what's the Verge collection.
Yeah.
All right, Tyler, predictions, brother.
All right, so the first is AMD's Navi architecture is going to be released. It's going to have great Linux support and properly compete with NVIDIA. And the second one is Eric's going to make more than one lug meeting in the year of 2019.
Wow, calling you out.
Well, for the record, I'm already scheduled to be there in January. So
yes, you are.
That will tie my previous record.
Wait, that's like so inside information. That's no good for a prediction.
That's right.
All right, Nate, predictions, please.
I have 3. One is SUSE will still make more parody videos in 2019.
That's assured. That's assured.
Yeah. There'll be an increase of usage of Linux in manufacturing and engineering to the point where there'll be spins of distros targeted as such. So I'm in the manufacturing industry, product design, and I've been seeing more and more like little bits here and there of Linux creeping in many different ways. And so I think you're actually going to see something targeted next year. And then my third prediction is, and this is more of a wish, one of the big mechanical engineering CAD packages like SolidWorks, Solid Edge, or the PTC Creo, one of those companies I think are going to start offering a Linux version in 2019. And as a side note, PTC stopped supporting Linux after the 2006 release of their CAD software. So I'm quite certain they're still running it on backrooms. They're just not willing to support it yet. Again, that's actually started on Unix and moved to Linux and Windows. So I think they might be the one to switch over.
Nice.
All right. Steve.
Not so much a prediction as a given. Microsoft will screw up on 2 more updates this year. But I see a bigger adoption of Linux to our younger people. It seems like a lot of young folks are showing up on the programs like Quentin that who really are into Linux. My nephew last year, he just went into high school, but in 8th grade, his 8th grade teacher was teaching them Ubuntu. So we'll see a bigger adoption from our younger people this year.
Nice.
So I do have a question. I'm just curious what changes you think Microsoft's going to make that they're only going to screw up 2 sets of updates.
No, we don't want to do that.
That'll be the update schedule. So
Yeah,
only have
they only
2.
put up 2 major ones anyway.
All right, Scott, predictions.
Well, I've only got 2, and one almost got stolen from me. I have to go with Craig on this one, but out of chat. But I'm going to go Team Red. So since nobody's talked about that, I believe since Microsoft is still on their 14 nanometer chips, Intel is still on their 14 nanometer chips, and they have said they're not even going to attempt to release their 10 nanometer chips, the Ice Lake chips, until 2020. I'm going to say Team Red's going to take a huge share out of Intel's market share. AMD has already suggested, and I think they're going to give a lot of credence to their suggestion that their 7 nanometer chip is going to be released next year. This is CPUs now. That being said, wow, twice the speed that Intel gives. Their sales are going to skyrocket, and AMD will start to approach domination. That being said, I think this can be used in their GPUs as well, since their Navi platform is being used to kind of orchestrate and create the 7 nanometer GPUs. So again, I think another leap for Team Red could be happening next year.
Can I clarify your first prediction?
Sure.
This CPU, will it need a industrial size air conditioner to
Well, third prediction, jump in air conditioning services in the next year. Probably. Yeah, can you just imagine?
Will you qualify your market share prediction with a percentage Price is Right rules?
$1 over.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, this is just a prediction. I didn't say it won't cost you 3 houses in a hotel to buy one, but
well, from what I'm hearing, AMD's been very competitive on the price front versus Intel. From the rumors I've been seeing on AMD chips and stuff.
All right, what's your next one, Scott?
I forgot the second one. So
There's
was
one.
it.
Okay.
Pops back in your head. You can say it later.
All right, Matt.
2 things. The one that was mentioned about Enlightenment being used as a more regular desktop.
That was Steve up top.
Thank you. I do see something along those lines happening because there's not a lot of Enlightenment based distros. So that'll be interesting to see because I do like Enlightenment. And I know Prophetic has a love for Mac Pup that is no longer around.
R.I.P.
And my second one, I think Valve is actually going to get serious about actually putting out hardware. Like, I don't mean like open, we're doing it ourselves, or if they do, they strictly partner with somebody, i.e., that specializes in Linux. So,
what's your take on Thomas's prediction about not being able to install Steam?
I think that is not going to happen because, like you, Rocco, I think they're going to shoot themselves in the foot if they do that.
I think they really would.
I think what they need to do is for people who want to build their own systems of a Steam machine, and, the micro ATX cases and that kind of stuff, they do have to make it easier to install. That I do agree with.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So, but I think Valve is going to end up partnering with a OEM, ODM, somebody to build hardware. Personally, I'd like to see them with like Zaurizen or System 76 or whatnot, and see. Personally, System 76 because they got the nice new sleek looking cases and stuff that they're working on, which I'm all 100% for that. So that would be my preference. But I think Valve's going to get serious about hardware finally.
That would be awesome.
Cool. All right, Prophetic. Back to you, brother.
Two predictions. One, I don't think we're going to see that mobile phone outside of the BQ, what's already out there, at least for the statewide.
Well, the Librem 5. Right.
Yeah, that's not coming out. And then,
that's a bad prediction, dude.
Dude, it breaks my heart.
Mine.
It breaks my heart. But it's
I hope they just release it even if it doesn't work.
What?
That's what's happened in the past.
Isn't that worse?
Released, it doesn't work. And it never happens.
This is why then no one ever believes it, because people end up doing that, and then the next people around go like, "Oh man, we can't do this now because the people before us couldn't do it." So that's sad, but I think that's going to be the case. And then also, sadly, I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but we're going to see a lot of small distros get swallowed up by just a sheer mind share shift that happens with Linux subsystem on Microsoft, Chrome OS, enabling Debian apps. And so they're going to take a lot of the mind share, and you're going to see just some of the big dogs stay in the game, and the smaller projects fall by the wayside because interest will deplete significantly in 2019.
That's really a DB downer.
That it is, but what it is you can turn it the other way. Is the smaller distros need to be aware that that's going to happen and up their game to get new contributors on board. They need to work harder to get more contributors on board.
You'll probably honestly see both. It really depends on like how many developers they have, and if they have a very small number, like minimum or maximum 3 or 4, maybe even, like, are they willing to put in the effort? Are they invested in this enough to actually do this?
No, it depends on something called marketing and communications, and if in leadership, people are die-hard interested or invested in their projects, and they love their projects, but that's not enough. Good intentions aren't enough. You need marketing and messaging and framing and channels to support that.
And that's difficult. Like, as a developer myself, I can tell you it's difficult. And doing it in a way that is not only going to draw in people, but also follows the whole Linux ethos is also difficult. And sometimes you have to decide, like, do I want to even bother following the Linux ethos with my advertising? So
I think it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for people to go and find new people and discover new ways to find those new people. And maybe someone was going to buy a Chromebook, or maybe someone was going to use WSL. There's a way to market towards people who are using Chrome and say, well, if you were thinking of buying Chrome, try this instead because it's different, it's better, it has all these additional things. And if you were going to use WSL, well, that's great, but that's like training wheels Linux. It's not like proper Linux. Here's proper Linux over here that gives you better things, and you target those people. Potentially you can undo what that prediction originally said.
Yeah, and one last thing I actually wanted to add a tail end because we brought up marketing. There would be the creation of a small but ambitious Linux marketing foundation.
I like this.
Well, there's one thing that worries me about the Microsoft thing is that they took Xamarin and Monodevelop and they made Visual Studio for Mac. Why didn't they do that for Linux? It's the same software.
They do internal builds of it, but I just don't think they have enough engineers to warrant doing it. If there's not enough demand for people to want those tools, then they can't commit engineers to do it. It's the same with every software vendor who looks.
But still, they love Linux.
Yeah, they do, but like you've got to love it enough to hire people.
I was going to say, there's
putting
still
a slide on a presentation is one thing, but actually pushing money into someone's bank account to get them to do a job is something entirely different.
I was going to say,
because they couldn't kill it. That's why.
No, it's not even that. They are a business at the end of the day. They're there to make money.
Yep.
Whether or not we like that, the end of the day, they're there to make money and please the board and all that stuff. So
Well, the reasons why they fired a lot of people who didn't see the vision of open source, and hence Satya Nadella is the best positive change since Steve Ballmer went to Enemy Linux #1.
Yeah, they're playing it right. They're doing everything right. They're doing all the things that we complained about and playing catch up there some. So it's going to be it's almost like be careful what you wish for. All the Microsoft bashing we did all those years, they're actually playing that book card now, and we're might see a.
I hope you're right. I'm crossing
Windows
my fingers.
distro coming soon. Linux distro coming soon from Windows, from Microsoft.
I'm gonna say that they're gonna be IBM.
I'm going to add to my prediction to say there's going to be another reaction video from Dark One that's not safe for work on his channel this year.
Sean, surprise.
January 1st.
I would never.
All right. We are like way out of time. So there was a lot more things that I wanted to talk about this week. There were a couple emails that we got as a community that were sent to the Biddle website. If you want to send an email to any of the guys here, or you want us to talk about something, you can go to BigDaddyLinux.com and send an email from there. And like I said, I wanted to cover the emails, but there's just not enough time. So we are going to talk our last word. Zeb.
Well, my last words this week are going to be just to wish everybody in the Zoom chat a wonderful 2019. I hope it works out really, really well for you, and all the Biddle followers in the chat window in general. Just everybody have a fantastic 2019.
All right,
thank you.
Hopi, last word.
Yeah, happy New Year, and I think personally, I'm gonna try and be less negative and more positive, and be specifically more positive about Linux over the next year.
Awesome, Dan. Last word.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for the great 2018. I found this group, early in the year, and really have enjoyed it. And thanks to all of you, and look forward to 2019.
Agreed. Steve, last word.
Thanks, Rocco, for becoming the lug that I miss so much in my life. I used to go to a lug meeting regularly every month, and now I guess I get to come weekly if I'm able to make it. And just one last thing too is that what an awesome community Linux is and open source that my 13-year-old can be involved already.
Yeah,
that is pretty awesome. Huh? All right, Joel, last word.
So happy New Year to you guys, and also happy 5th day of Christmas if you go by that sort of calendar. So, and also really like this community, and even though I only come in occasionally, I really do like the input that we can give to people directly with regards to feedback about products that are open source, as well as give our opinions every week and give us all of us a soapbox to stand on. So. Yeah, and you guys know where to follow me.
Yep. Well, just incidentally, the Bunsen Lab guys actually commented on the video and on Twitter about last week. So hopefully we'll be able to get more and more developers on and kind of like bridge the gap there. So,
yeah.
Peter, last word.
Lang may your lumbrick. Happy Hogmanay.
Back at you.
All right.
Translation?
Prophetic, last word. What's that translation? I don't know.
Happy New Year.
Okay, I think it says download and install Puppy Linux, or
long may your chimney reek, or may your chimney have smoke. It's me saying, may you have prosperity in the next year, that you have enough money to have a chimney going.
Chimney, smoke.
Yeah.
Long.
Chimney.
Okay.
Good.
Scottish.
Prophetic, last word.
No, great year, great community. Thanks so much, Rocco, and everyone else making this happen. I would just say last word is donate. Not just social media posts, but financially to the projects you love and care about, because you never know. 2019 might be an ugly one.
Okay. Joe, last word.
Well, as always, Rocco, I want to thank you for even having this platform. I know I've said this before, but I truly mean it. It's been a wonderful community to become a part of. It's more like a family than just community. Friendships
It is.
have been developed. I mean that very sincerely. I absolutely love being a part of this and the people I've gotten to know through this, even if there aren't faces with all of them. But I do want to sincerely wish everybody a very happy, healthy, and blessed Happy New Year.
Same to you, Joe.
Thank you.
Colin, last word.
I'd just like to echo the words that Joe said regarding your channel, because it is a very great place to come to and talk Linux. It provides me a place to talk to other people that are involved in Linux, and it's great. So thanks for your efforts, Rocco. It's great. Really appreciate it. And Happy New Year to everybody in for 2019, and I hope you enjoy it.
Awesome. Magnus.
Yeah, Happy New Year, everyone. Great show. Nice to meet you all.
You too.
All right. Adam, last word.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and everybody should have a pretty good 2019. And I wanted to say, everybody is welcome to join us in Discord at any time. So everybody, Discord. Yeah.
Discord. I'm going to throw a link in the YouTube chat for Discord if you'd like to join us.
All right, sounds good.
What's wrong with Telegram?
Nothing. Same. I'll throw a link for that too. Barbara, last word.
I want to first of all, I want to thank you, Rocco, for having this wonderful Saturday night adventure, and I want to wish everyone a very, very happy and healthy and good New Year.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Same to you.
And my cat's going to die.
I've got a new prediction for 2019.
Go ahead, Colin.
The cat's going to die.
There's still 3 others.
All right, Thomas, last word.
All right. Happy New Year to everyone. And also echoing what a lot of other people are saying, thank you for having this channel and allowing me to be on here. IRL, there aren't a lot of people around where I live that use Linux that I can talk to. There are literally 4 people in my county who use Linux. So being able to come here and rant about Linux and talk to you guys on Discord and Telegram has been a godsend for me. So I can vent about all these issues and get help and things like that. So thank you for allowing me to be on here. I love the open source community and I love the BDLL community. And yeah, thanks.
Thomas, we give you a hard time, but we love you, man.
And Thomas, you don't live in the only area where it's like the Linux dead zone. Yeah. I feel like I'm the only person in the whole county.
Yeah. It's so bad. The college I go to, they host their own website locally, and you think they host it on a Linux server. No, their entire system is Windows based, and it's so bad. Their internet is a crawl, and it's not just because there are a bunch of people on the internet. It's because they use Windows. Their website is a crawl because it's on Windows. Everything is a crawl because it's on Windows, and they don't use Linux, and it goes down so often. So
we're just being brave.
There's a point where you cross the line between brave and foolish, and they're on the far side of that. They're
where I work, it's the same thing. So I totally understand it. The network gets so bad, I plug in my phone, use it as a hotspot, and I can get my work done.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah.
All right, Paul, last word.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, everybody. See you next year.
All right. Dolphin, last word, brother.
Happy New Year. Thanks for having me on. Rocco, thanks for hosting the channel. It's been awesome. Also, congratulations to the Destination Linux guys on their 100th episode milestone. I just listened to it. That was fantastic. It was great. And I also say, Draugr OS now with a smaller ISO size.
Yes. Thank you, by the way. I neglected to mention this, so I'm going to brag on him really quickly, and I'm sorry I'm taking up time. Dolphin has been busy not just with MX Linux, but also helping me. He pointed out a few mistakes I made with Draugr OS inside the ISO and something I can do to improve it. And thanks to him, I was able to cut off 700 megabytes on the Draugr OS ISO.
No
Wow.
So,
Now you
yeah.
can put Firefox in, right?
Congrats.
Oh, I might actually change to Chromium.
He's
but-
got room to do what he wants now.
But see, that's one of the best things about this community is the people inside of it.
Yes.
That's pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
All right, Eric, last word.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to give a general thank you out to the community. Destination Linux, Jupiter Broadcasting, Ask Noah Show. I've been a part of the community for about 2 years now, after being a systems engineer for the last 10. So, you know, my time as a desktop Linux user has been fairly brief, but in that time I've really found an online community I can be a part of. And so the first 2 years has been me kind of learning and getting my feet wet and trying out different things. But 2019 may not be the year of the Linux desktop, but it's definitely going to be the year that I start contributing, start giving back more than even this year. So I've got a new job coming up in a few weeks. I'm going to be working for GitLab as a solutions architect. So I'm really excited about that. And then on top of that, I'm working on not one but 2 projects that will be coming out. One of them just aired on the Ask Noah show just a few days ago, and then the other will be starting later in Q1. So shameless self plug. Keep an eye out on those. But
Well, good.
This is just my way of kind of giving back to the community and bringing some attention to projects that may not get a lot of attention otherwise. So really appreciate everything that this community has done. I know, Rocco, I got started with Destination Linux and a few others. So I just really am appreciative for the people in this room and really looking forward to meeting a lot of you in person at conferences and at Lugs, Tyler. So thank you guys so much.
All right. Well, welcome every week, brother. We're here. All right, Tyler. He's speaking to you.
Yep. Looking forward to the new year. Hoping to see the lug grow in the new year. And happy New Year to everyone.
Nice. Nate.
Hey, I want to say thank you very much, Rocco, for this. I only just discovered it a few months ago, so thanks. Also, I wish everyone a happy New Year and make it better than 2018.
Awesome. Steve?
I want to thank you, Rocco, and everybody in the room. I want to say Happy New Year. And I want to just say that part of this community, Linux is more than a kernel.
All right. Check out Steve's channel because he also does some Linux content. So if you're interested in that, check his channel out. I'll throw out a link on the chat. Scott?
Well, as always, Rocco, great hosting, great show. Thanks very much for even coming up with this brainchild and doing this. Also, thanks to all the great talent and knowledge that comes every week to participate, and even those that don't participate. I really hope for more people that, even if they're just watchers, that the community grows and learns something, or gets something out of this great community. I think everybody could learn a little bit of something, or might find something that they didn't expect to find or learn in this type of show, which is why I promote and suggest everybody post the link everywhere. This community is going to grow leaps and bounds, and you don't have to show your face, you don't have to talk. The people that get to the live stream and just watch and maybe chat a little bit, great, come on in, let's get it growing. You've got some great reach, Rocco, and I think it's growing exponentially, and I think it'll keep continuing in the new year. So I wish everybody a real prosperous new year, and see you all in the next year.
Awesome. Matt, last word.
I would just want to wish everybody a happy new year for the beginning or end of this year as it rolls past. And I want to kind of continue the sentiment, Rocco. I really do appreciate what you've done with Biddle and what it's become. I was there for a lot of the earlier stuff, and seeing it grow to this, is tremendous, and that's a testament to the type of community you were looking to build and what you've helped build. So I am very much appreciative of that, because not many communities in Linux would have developers, generic end users of all levels, where we can nitpick the pixels or whatever, all we want, but you can get solid communication and feedback. It's a very rare thing in the open source community, I've found, where you can put a face with the name and all that stuff. And what you've done is tremendous for it, and I want to say thank you for it.
Awesome. Well, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for showing up, because it wouldn't matter what I wanted to do. If you guys didn't show up and put your time and effort into it, it would be worth nothing. The community is what makes it. Each and every one of you is what makes this. So I want to say thank you for that. And I will get to the emails next week, hopefully. And I do want to apologize for the YouTube comments. I know people have commented on the Biddles in the last couple of weeks, and I have not replied to them. I do intend to reply to them. I'm just a little behind because of the holidays and everything. So I didn't forget about you. All right. So join us in the Telegram group at t.me/Big Daddy Linux Live. Or, as Adam would want to say, you can join us in Discord, and that link will be in the YouTube chat. Until next year, thank you very much.
God bless.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.